Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Alex Sigrist, and you wanted it. I got it for you. My very minimal, angry election analysis. Here we go. All right, everyone. I'm at the studio. Just had to get some work done here, and I figured while I'm here, I might as well come in here and talk about what's been happening with the election. By the time you see this, Biden may be the winner, or Trump, or neither, or we may go all the way to January 21st or whatever day it is. And oh my gosh, so much has happened, ups and downs the whole way. But today I'm going to rant because I feel like it's about the time that I do that. For those who are new to the channel or have never seen me talk about politics, clearly I have a slight liberal bias, but the way that I see it, the fact that I tell you that I have a liberal bias means that I'm not exactly fake news or trying to convince you otherwise. This is my background. And this is why I'm a supporter of Biden-ish. Originally, I was a supporter of Bernie Sanders, maybe Elizabeth Warren. They didn't make it through. Biden made it through. And here's what we got. Two old white men who have been accused of dementia and haven't been able to prove that they don't have it yet. And here we go. So right now, as I'm looking at the results from the New York Times and CNN, they have it listed as 253 to 213, although some people have already called Arizona, which means that all Biden has to do to win is win one more state, which could be Nevada, which he's currently leading right now, or Pennsylvania, as the votes keep coming in from the mail-in ballots. That could very much happen as the distance between Trump and Biden keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Look, I'm not against anyone who voted for Trump. But as a whole in America, here's kind of the way that I feel about it. America's in a really bad place. And not because of the economy, not because of the virus, although those are also pretty important things to consider. To me, it's kind of more about what it takes to be an American and what being an American means. Because let me divide the Republican camp into two categories, as we can with probably Democrats too, but there are two types of Republicans, it sounds like, generally speaking. One is like clearly racist, like hood wearing. You can't really deny it. I don't even think they deny it. There is a large section of people who have a racial element to their voting, and they don't like the fact that America is becoming less pure. Sounds familiar? Yes, it does sound kind of like the 1930s somewhere else in Europe, but there is that smaller section. But there's also a group of Republican voters, I'll just say Republican, just non-Biden voters, who kind of agreed that for the sake of the economy, I'm willing to overlook some of that racism. I'm to overlook some of the divisiveness of the president. Because I don't know how many times I've had my friends say, well, I don't like what he says or what he does all the time, but the economy, but the economy, but the economy. And, you know, as I looked at the numbers, one of the things that bothers me is it seems like we're literally praying to the god of money. And I know that sounds like a religious thing, but it's not, I swear. But when you look at the fact that people have chosen that the economy is more important than saving 233,000 American lives, the economy first, then the pandemic, that's where I kind of have an issue. And it goes beyond that as well. I mean, we're talking about not just pandemic lives, we're talking about lives of people separated at the border from their families, at detention camps. We're talking about people who won't get health care because they have a pre-existing condition. I mean, there are so many reasons why you should support people over the economy. And I know people, you come back and you do sort of come back with a defense. Well, if people lose money, they lose their jobs, they have to stay home, it leads to depression, and they kill themselves that way. Which is great. Let's go ahead and debunk everything right freaking now. First of all, the Republican Party, not the voters, the Republican Party has not been doing anything for mental health for the last 40-some years. And I know this because I've had relatives who have suffered from the defunding of programs that were to support people who were suffering from mental illnesses, maybe from the war, PTSD, those kind of things. So at no time ever did the Republican Party, the politicians, ever really want to fix mental illness issues ever. But all of a sudden, in order to sound not so cruel and evil, it became, oh, well, because we don't like people being depressed at home because they might kill themselves. Now we are worried about their mental health, so therefore open the economy. That's just BS. I know people in my life are no longer here because we don't have solid programs that were cut starting from Reagan, a Republican. We don't have solid programs dealing with mental health. So, what, all of a sudden now, mental health is an issue? It's not. Of course it's not. And they still don't care because there's going to be no mental health issues with that one. Another issue I have, another rant that I want to come out with, is the whole argument of the All Lives Matter movement. Because remember, I made a video about this. Why I don't say All Lives Matter. You know why I don't say All Lives Matter? Because that's no one who says that actually cares about all lives. It's just a way to combat the phrase Black Lives Matter. If all lives matter, you would worry about people who died from this pandemic, yet the exit polls show that the economy is more important than the pandemic going on right now to people who tended to vote for Trump. So, I feel like we're getting gaslighted all the time in this issue. Again, you stop here. Not everyone who voted for Trump is a bad person. Not everyone who voted for Trump thinks this way. But the exit polls on a general level show that all lives don't matter to the people that screamed all lives matter. They don't. All lives don't matter. Not in healthcare, not in the pandemic, not poor people who are struggling to get a paycheck from the government for unemployment because of the pandemic. Those lives don't actually matter. And the hypocrisy of it all is what kills me. And the fact that it's such a close race in this election that so many people didn't put money over people, basically. It is more important to win, whether it's win as a Republican or whether it's to win as the highest GDP economy in the world. It is more important to win and to have a great economy, to have more money, than it is to care for the people in that economy. So Biden wins, great. There's some advantages we'll get from that. I have my issues with Biden. Don't worry. As soon as he wins, I will rant about Biden because I'm still to the left of Biden, by the way. Don't forget that. Biden is not a communist, for God's sake, for anyone's... But for now, I just felt like this was a rant that needed to be had because America is not safe yet. It was too close of an election. Next time there's an election, next 4 years later, and you get a semi-sane Republican, we're going to all forget about it and be like, oh, it's so nice to have a good solid civil debate again. Things are back to normal. No, they're still not back to normal yet. Unless literally when Trump loses, every Republican denounces him at the same time, which would be great. I still think it's going to happen. So anyway, yeah, that was my rant. It was as coherent as I wanted it to be, which was not coherent at all, and that's fine by me. Look, I'm not trying to insult anybody. I'm not trying to say that if you voted for Trump, you are automatically a bad person, because there are, of course, bad people who voted for Biden. It's just the way it is. There are bad people on both sides. I hate people. There's good people on both sides. Yeah, there's also terrible people on both sides. Don't forget that as well. And you have to defend those people if you're going to be forever supporting your side, and you don't have an independent mind, and well, it's okay that I'm on the same side with people who wear hoods with their eyes cut out. Or I'm on the same side of people who, who attack Trump supporters too. I don't defend those people ever. Okay, that was my rant. I got everything I wanted out of me. I'm still hoping that Biden wins. By the time you see this, of course, Biden may have already won. That's all I got for today. Enjoy the rant, but please be kind in the comment section, because I still like Trump friends of mine. Rant over. Goodbye, haseyo.